All right, let's see how this one goes. If anyone clicked on this in the future, seeing the recording or video portion of it, and has somehow mistaken this as a regular stream about something serious, then probably leave it now because it's not. This is something I promised to do a long time ago. If I were ever to actually get 10K subs, regardless of the proportion that are probably bots, which I can't really get an exact vibe for, but it's decently high, and that's not something that's limited to me. That is definitely something that's like universal at this point. Live control room. Oh wow, Josh was actually fast this time. That's muted. This needs to be live. Now, the test is, did I see these here? Yes. Hmm. The side thing is not actually supposed to show up on the screen, but oh well. Okay, so let me drink some water, and I need to figure out what order I actually want to do all this in. So, to start out with, I guess Maxojir does not exist. There is a person speaking to you right now whose name is Michael, but there is no actual Maxojir. Maxojir is a fictional character. I'll probably talk about that at some point. He was from my really cringe novel that I wrote while I was in high school that I told you guys about a few times. It had like aliens and everything. Yeah, I think this is one of the most recent pictures I actually took of myself, which you will see the gradual change in demeanor when we eventually, in a few minutes, look at earlier pictures from like back in the mid to early 2010s. You'll see a gradual demeanor shift because this was in 2019, and I kind of knew at that point, subconsciously, probably. I didn't know that 2020 itself was going to happen, but I pretty much had a feeling at that point that my whole freedom and earning a decent amount of money phase was nearing its end. I kind of sensed that subconsciously, so my demeanor was already downshifting to match that preemptively. But yes, uh, Maxojir, or Michael, as is my actual name, is a straight white male of uh, predominantly German and Scottish slash also apparently uh, some amount of Norman French descent that I recently learned. That bit I was not aware of. Who has just, as of yesterday, turned 31. Interesting, it's at 31% zoom. I did not preset that. That is something this thing did all on its own. But I just turned 31. My bones are gradually decaying into dust. I can already feel it. Although thankfully, my mind is still kind of intact. I just have breaks every now and then. Josh is the one whose mind is slipping. Uh, let's see. What do we have here? Ah, yes. Actually, we will need Google Earth for this, or not need, since I don't need to be doing any of this in the first place. Come on, you can do it. There we go. So, I was born on August 26th of 1993. That's not me doxing. Sorry, that's not me doxing myself. Basic math would tell you that if you're able to do basic math. Uh, I was born technically in Plymouth Hospital, so somewhere up there, but I grew up on Cape Cod here on the far coast of the southeastern coast of Massachusetts, artificial island because of the canal that got cut through it. So I grew up here on Cape Cod, specifically. I grew up in Mashpee here. I would love to actually get back there sometime. It's been a while. I've not actually been back there since 2010, I think. Almost 14 years. I do not know for certain if I would be able to locate my actual old original house that we lived in when I was a kid. I don't remember which lake it was, the shape of the lake. So that would be maybe a little bit difficult. I want to think it was Mashpee Pond, but I'm not sure. No, wait, because that's Otis Air Force Base. That's where my parents worked, spent a lot of time there as a kid as well. Okay, so it was not that close because we did have to drive a bit, but that's Sandwich up there. Uh, hmm. No, I don't. Okay, I don't think it was right next to another one. I'm pretty sure it was. It was by itself. Hmm, that looks a bit familiar. All right, we'll try that again another time. But I grew up on Cape Cod, and eventually, when I was just about to turn 12, we moved down to the Charleston area of South Carolina, which is a unbearable, like burning underworld, which had some benefits. One of which was the eventual acquaintance with this thing. This thing is called Josh. Josh is in the chat there. Hmm, I can't see past the heart. Man, you were actually on the man. Come on, I need to get back there. But yeah, that thing is Josh. Uh, the picture, Josh is obviously a black dude. He's not a cat. That cat is Sophie, which is his cat. She is still around. My cat, who I have a few pictures of here, Jessie, the one I grew up with, who functioned effectively as my older sister because of my mom's work schedule and the fact that my dad was usually away for 6 months of the year at a time. Jessie was more the one who actually like was looking after me all the time and raising me. Jessie is gone now. She lived from April 15th of 1997 until February 19th of 2018. So she was just short of 21. She missed 21 by a few months. And that is her at her elder age during a Skype call uh, to my when my parents were Skype calling me when I was up in Alaska because I also as soon as I was done with high school, which effectively nowadays is just I call it a prison as a joke. It kind of is, but it's more properly would be a young adult daycare service, essentially. But I moved up here to Fairbanks, Alaska, which I absolutely loved living in and would love to get back to, but that would require earning, at least the level of income I did when I lived up there, which is not the case at the moment. Which is not a huge amount of money, though. It's actually, I was doing fine with only started at about 700 and gradually made it up to about 850 or $900 a month, and that was actually that was actually fine. It's actually cheaper and more like life easy, convenience wise, to live back up home than it is down here. But people usually assume the opposite because they just like compare gas pump prices and prices of common items at like the store, or prices of coffee, which I don't need, so that's not really a good indicator. But yeah, I went to UAF, but eventually started falling apart. I could not really handle the uh, higher workload slash effectively indentured servitude that they add as a requirement to actually like go higher up into stuff. Like not because it's not just learning things anymore as part of a cost saving measure. Universities across the US now also kind of for you to go beyond the first initial like wave of learning and get into stuff, they also require you to you know do things depending on which department you're in, do things like work for 20 hours a week as a TA in labs, and also do all this other like research help on top of the stuff already mentioned. And then that's also while having to work like an actual job to have money to support yourself. So the whole structure of the system is just not something I could really push through. But I predominantly, and we'll see actual on the ground pictures of this in a few moments. I lived in this building for a while. Stevens Hall uh, was a great place. I especially loved it because it was the most empty. It had usually the fewest residents while I was at the university. So it was basically the quietest dorm for students, which, that was definitely a awesome feature in my eyes. Then we go down here. So the city was and still is pretty simple. It has basically a loop. You can't see oh no, wait, that is it. Yeah, sorry, I keep forgetting it does the immediate duct cut there. But it's basically on a loop like this, and then there's a central cut through, and there's a few vertical cut throughs, and so we have the bus system. This was one of the things that made it easy for me, easy to live there very cost effectively because I didn't really have to own a vehicle because we had free public transit, or rather, you know, the state still has it. I don't because I'm not there anymore. But uh, the buses come in and they're set up on different timed runs around this loop, and some of them do. I forget which one does the up and down. I think it's Orange. Orange Line was the one that did the up, down, up, uh, down, up. So different ones like do the loop in different directions. Some of them do the up downs. Some of them do this middle line back and forth. So it was a really, or still is a really well designed public transit system. And all I had to do is flash my ID and just walk onto the bus. So there was no vehicle ownership, no insurance payments, no fuel payments, and I would frequently ride down to the location I'm in the thumbnail of the video, down here to Fred Meyer, which is a rather large, basically everything in one store, and that is where I would go with my setup, have my laptop. This was 2 laptops ago, though I'm not using this one at the moment. I would go with my setup in the mornings, or in the late afternoons. It would depend. But I would go there because the internet was terrible. So in that building specifically, so it was a easy way for me to cut myself off and make sure I would focus on writing or editing videos, and grab my 2% and my German chocolate, which I could afford because I made money, and sit there for a few hours and work on stuff. And then eventually 2020 happened. We all remember 2020 because it was fun. It was awesome, wasn't it, guys? And everything's just been so terrific since then, hasn't it? It's been a wonderful experience. And so, excuse me, I didn't click on you. And so after 2020, I, had to end up back down here. Uh, Not on the street, thankfully. I'm at my parents' house because they're, uh, praise God, they're still alive and hopefully will be for a while. And then there's also Josh, who's nearby once again, because he's out of the Air Force now. I should be. How many things do I have to bring down? How many things? Checking chat. No one saying anything. Okay. It is on live, right? Yes. Okay. So let's see. Apart from my elder sister Jessie, who is now gone, now actually I take it back. I think this was probably the last picture of myself I took, and this was back up home a few months. You can tell because of the absence of snow, but a few months before everything happened, and I was just doing a height measure of that tree because, under the hopeful assumption I would be staying there for the rest of my life, I was going to, try to measure the rate of its growth. But now I have, instead of my elder sister, Jessie, we have my baby sister, Bindi. And not even little sister, but I refer to her as my baby sister because she is obnoxious and needy and clingy and kind of destructive like a toddler. And she actually even has her own YouTube channel with videos about her. It's a sweet kitty Bindi. It should also be linked. There should be a link to it on like on my main channel page, but she has her own channel with actual videos of her and stuff and like funny antics, like her spazzing out, going after a string, her standing up like a bear. Oh, let's see. What do we have here? Oh yeah. So we have Josh, who is the most nearby friend of my very small list of remaining friends. And I mean, that would fluctuate depending on like what your actual definition is. Josh is my best friend and is going to eventually probably be my only friend left. I do also have a pair of friends up in New York who I think they're in this one, should be in this one. I have my friend Elias and his wife, who he kind of, as a mocking joke, eventually just got the rest of us to colloquially just refer to her as the female. But yeah, I have my friend Elias and his wife. They, not those two, these two, they're back up in New York at the moment. And then I have Nick and Kayla, who are back up home in Alaska. They're still in Fairbanks, I think. If not, then they would have moved back to Valdez eventually. And yeah, these are some of the last pictures I got to take of Jessie the year before she went. Let me drink some more water real quick. So, rundown of some random stuff. Maxojir, or Michael's favorite wild animal at least, excuse me, open the image, is the snow leopard. Always loved, felt a connection with snow leopards. So, snow leopards are the definitive favorite, and correspondingly, snow is my favorite kind of weather. Winter is obviously my favorite season, which is part of why I loved Alaska so much, because it is, for a prolonged portion of the year, it is a uh, never ending winter of eternal Arctic darkness. Absolutely loved it. Absolutely would love to return. And okay, that's the other thing. Wait, no, no, no. I have a better one. Where's the one where I have like a huge stack of them? And some of these other things will lead into stuff in a minute. Where's the one where I have the big British sports stack? Oh, yeah. And these, while we're passing them by, these were typical weekend nights uh, back up home with the associated D&D crew, the my like collective friend group up there slash Dungeons and Dragons crew. They That's, I think that's Connor, that's Joe. I think that was just a random dude who walked by who saw that they were playing Smash Bros and wanted to jump in. And then Kayla and Casey and Nick and maybe Dan, I think, are off screen over there. But so these were like typical nights where if it wasn't a D&D night in which I was the DM, the dungeon master, or if they weren't playing Magic the Gathering, which for those who are unfamiliar with it, it's kind of like Yu-Gi-Oh, except higher budget and with like more rules and thought required to play it. If it wasn't that, then it was either Smash Bros on the screen, or it would be Joe playing whatever the latest Dark Souls was at the time, and would frequently get pizza. I can't see the box on that one. If it's Papa John's, then it means I got it. If it was from somewhere else, then it means one of them got it. But like I would frequently get pizza. I would frequently be the one to do that because, like I said, back then I actually made cash that I could use disposably. Man, look how excited I was. I mean, the wrinkles were already there under my eyes, but I was like so excited to actually learn and study stuff. I had no idea what was coming. Oh, and well, that is also just a general thing. The snow leopard is just my favorite, like specific species, but overall, Maxojir or Michael just loves cats in general. I have always loved cats. Definitely feel more connected to cats than I do to people. Uh, Cats don't betray me. Uh, cats don't. Cats don't. Flood the internets with complete mask-off revelations of their desires to genocide entire groups of people. Although we joke about their, blah 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 ruling or taking over the world, but uh, I love cats, and this was another one of the ones that was actually like personally in my life for a while. This is Clyde, or rather was Clyde. He's also commonly called the Great and Mighty Clyde. He was my parents' neighbor's cat, one of my parents' former neighbors before that person moved away. But Clyde was around for a good like dozen or 15 years, and he was a strong beast. He was he had like really, and not just like muscle strong either, but he also had like just like a cat version of like linebacker broad shoulders. Like even if you like squeezed him to feel where like the bones were, they were rather like wide put compared to like a normal cat's frame. So he was a big stronky boy, and he was always out there just lurking. You could always rely on, through middle school, through high school, whenever I came down to visit before he died. I could always look out, and he'd always be out there day, frequently at night as well, just like sitting there with his stature, just looking over and judging everything he saw. And I think, he let me actually get like a nice close up of his lovely orange creamsicle face. All right. What was I originally looking for? Okay, it's not there, so it must be in here. Pull that down. Minimize that. Anybody? Modern Yu-Gi-Oh still alive? What? Dude, I stopped paying attention to Yu-Gi-Oh back when they went into space and started playing the game while riding motorcycles. Yeah, Big Orange. That was another one of his names. Excuse me. Let me position this. There we go. Oh, there's a shot of me. One of the times where I had blue hair. There's a shot of me, my reflection rather, riding the bus to Fred Meyer or from Fred Meyer, whichever one. Uh, yeah, definitely. Still, even then, still, had a much more positive demeanor or outlook. There's Fred Meyer, the front entrance of Fred Meyer. Excuse me. Go down. I'm pressing the arrow, so go down, please. Thank you. That's the one I already used. I need for emphasis, I want to use the one that has a lot of British for it. This is okay. That's Baltimore stuff. All right. Well, while we're there, Michael or Maxojir also used to take a lot of trips to Baltimore frequently. I went to Baltimore basically every year. Uh, Also, San Francisco, Anchorage, and I mean, I was going to go to other places a few other times, but then eventually 2020 happens and money stopped existing. But yeah, this was some of the stuff from Baltimore. There's Josh being cut in half. There's an old ship. Oh, and actually, I can't believe I didn't think of this since we're right here looking through some of this stuff. Uh, Maxojir, or Michael, is also a photographer. Uh, Not a paid one, but I did try. I did actually try applying for photography jobs. but I got A, ghosted. B, I was going to get like a write around, basically, as in the second in charge of a company was going to basically kind of just let me into the job. But then he died like 2 days later, before that actually happened. So that ended up not coming about. And uh, other than that, uh, everybody apparently wants a that this did not used to be a thing, but they want a photography degree. That photography is a skill. That's not, that's not a you better have a PhD in photography thing. Where's the lightsaber fight? There's the lightsaber fight. I don't remember which BronyCon was that. This was where are we? That is 2016. 2016, that was much happier time. There we go. There's one of the better setups. Yeah. So, as you probably could tell, Maxojir also loves milk. I have always drank milk. Fluctuated between 1% to 2% across different times in my life. Uh, Primarily on 2% right now for the last long while, but always drank milk. The As the saying goes, as I've told multiple people, parents included, you whether it's the government, whether it's a store or whether it's you, my own family, you can cut me off from German chocolate, you can cut me off from chocolate chip cookies, you can cut me off from a lot of stuff. If you actually try taking the milk away from me, I will fight you, and one of us will die in the process. But I also love German chocolate. Rittersport Alpenmilch. Just the plain Alpine milk chocolate. None of those cringy coconut orange infused flavored nonsense. I love those. Milka is a decent, second now. Rittersport actually technically I used to consider Rittersport. I used to consider it like just barely second place. It was just barely outpaced by Godiva, the old Godiva. Uh, Before in I think 2018, it got bought out by some Turkish company, and they changed the recipe to make it more, cheaply mass producible, and essentially turned it into a secretly Turkish German chocolate version of Hershey's. So Godiva is dead. Rittersport and Milka are the only two left that I actually like. People can talk about Lindt all you want, but get that Swiss nonsense away from me. They put a bit too much. I think it I think it's vanilla is what they put a bit too much of in the Swiss stuff. Gives it a bit too much of a sweet ping to it, I guess is the best way I could describe it. So Rittersport is number one. Milka comes in at number two. Uh, like if Rittersport's a 10, Milka's probably a 7. I would say I'd call it a 7. As implied, I also like and consume chocolate chip cookies. Used to be the Nestle stuff, and I think you can actually see that in some of the old photos. No, that's not that one. Go in here, get to the stuff where I'm back. Yeah, there we go. So like this was the inside of my fridge back up home one year, and yes, I used to eat Nestle chocolate chip cookies, but uh, they got exposed for using slave labor, child slave labor. So I stopped, and I also, had to avoid a number of others because they also got exposed for it. And so I gradually had to hunt down only those who don't, at least as of what we know at this point, use child slave labor. But also, I do now more frequently than I used to actually mix up like uh, the all the ingredients myself and make like full from the ground up cookie batter and then make chocolate chip cookies that way as well. Just like not every night, obviously, but like once every few weeks, just because it's kind of a painful, tedious process to wash and clean everything up after that. And as possibly also able to tell from some of my photography shots that I've shown sometimes. Let me get to a better set. Come on. I think these weren't in the best lighting because it was cloudy, and San Francisco airport puts a green tint on all their windows. But I also am a aviation fan. I love aircraft, and I actually love getting to fly, which it has now been 4.5 years or more than 4.5 years since last time I was in the air. My favorite aircraft in particular is the unique looking Airbus A340-600. Let me see if I can find the actual one I like to use as the example picture the most. I mean, that's a decent angle of it, kind of similar to the one I would normally use. It's a very long, if you look at it from like the top down, it's a very long aircraft. Like it almost kind of ends up looking too long to function properly. It has very wide wings with very fat engines, but that's in Lufthansa's new bland bland stuff. Oh, Qatar actually had one. I forgot Qatar Airways actually operated those, at least at some point. Where's the old original one? I hope it hasn't been like purged. Really hope it hasn't been purged from the internet, as many things are gradually being. Okay. Not scrolling forever, but looks like it's kind of looks like it's been purged. But the A340-600 is definitely my favorite in terms of commercial airliners. In terms of military aircraft, I've already told you guys this before, but it is public domain. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Father in heaven. Uh, the F-15. I grew up around these aircraft. These are the ones that were stationed at Otis Air Base where my parents worked. So the F-15 is the best, undisputably. The F-22 and F-35 are technically better, obviously, but the F-15 is still the best because of childhood nostalgia. And my childhood nostalgia, unlike everybody else's, is objectively correct. So the F-15 is the best. And I actually do have yeah, I do have photos from like actual childhood. I can probably show you guys. Well, apparently, this was me at like, I don't know, 3. I think I put the 3 there for a reason. In a generic, late 90s future president shirt. That is a absolute no. I would be shot long before we ever got to that point. This is me and a tiger. This is my uncle Kevin. It's one of like my childhood heroes. When we played like Diablo 2 all the time, he was not like a hacker, but we called him a hacker kind of because he eventually just one day showed up and had made his character like maximum level with all skills maxed out, which is not something you can actually do, and had like all equipment that like triple stacked skill bonuses so that he effectively had like all skills at 99 when they cap out at 20, and when the most bonuses you can usually get playing the game normally is like up to maybe 30. So he would show up and like on the hardest difficulty, he would kill like the final boss in 2 hits. This is me back when I was fat, back at the end of high school. That was Josh. Obviously, sometimes he has glasses, sometimes he doesn't. This was, man, I was 13 here. I think 13. Yeah, no, 14. I was 14. This was with me and my parents somewhere up in the northern portions of British Columbia, Canada. This was one of my trips to Deutschland, Germany. And these two here, this is Xiao, who is uh, his parents are from China, but they moved to Germany when he was young. Uh, kind of got the hint a long time beforehand of where China was, eventually going. Uh, he he was one of the exchange students who lived with us for a year, 2007 through 2008. This is Dorian, who is southwestern German. Actually, he's half Italian, half German. I think his mother is his mother. No, sorry, his mother is half Italian, half German. Uh, so he kind of inherited like an Italian tan. But he was the popular kid when he was over here, and he was like the big flirter, and was always like pretending to stretch so that his shirt would pull up and show off his abs to like everybody in the cafeteria at school. Pretty it would be pretty cringe, pretty cringe in context now if he did that as like a 32-year-old adult, but back as kids, it was hilariously funny. And this was a Serbian gangster named Nanad, who was like one of Dorian's neighbors. This was one of the trips to Germany, uh, because also, actually, we'll go back out here. So before I started going places on my own, even as a kid, we went a lot of places. My parents took me to Disney World twice in the 90s, and we went to Vancouver and around British Columbia, and then up to the southeastern arm of Alaska, also known as not really Alaska. Then, when I was 13, I went on my own as part of a student group to Australia, and we went all over the place. I wasn't, majorly a wannabe photographer yet, so I didn't take too many pictures while we were there, but still, I have all the memories, and it was really fun. We even, before I was interested in mines and everything, we went down into the mine in Mount Isa, and one of us, not me, but one of us got to actually press the button to detonate some of the explosives to blow out or weaken the next segment of the ore deposit that they were going to start going into. We got to go into or we got to stay at a really, really fancy, nice uh, barrier reef like resort islands. Not Hamilton Island, which is like one of the best ones, but it was somewhere near it. And that was where I accidentally ate fish one time because I They were breaded just like chicken nuggets, and I wasn't reading the labels, and I just thought they were chicken nuggets. And so I took a few of them on my plate. I ended up eating them, and fish tastes disgusting. So everyone who keeps trying to convert me to seafood, like for some reason, I don't know, people take it as a huge offense that I don't like seafood. I have tried fish, and no. Other than that one time, that other one time I tried fish sticks like way back as a kid. I've, you know, it fish and me don't go together. Okay, I eat my land animal meat, but we went all over the eastern portion of the country, and then there were two trips to Deutschland while my dad was there when he worked for the PMC private military corporation. So basically, a mercenary company. He himself was not a mercenary. I'm not claiming that. He was not a like combat personnel person for them. He was just in like personnel. He was just in personnel management and like office paperwork stuff. Uh, so he that still paid him like a lot of money. Not as much as like the combat risk bonuses that the actual mercenaries got paid, obviously, but it was still a decent income. And 2 of those years, he was at their office in Mainz, Germany, which is up around here, I think, if I remember correctly, in a city called Mainz. And so twice we visited him in Germany and went all over Germany while we were there, and also a bit into eastern France and a bit into Switzerland in Basel. Basel is a really, really lovely city and had awesome food at whatever restaurant. I forgot what restaurant it was, but we stopped at this one restaurant in Basel, and the food there was amazing. I had just one slice of a Basel pizza, and it was probably the best pizza I ever had. It cost 16 euros for one slice of it. So Switzerland's, you need to like, I would say nowadays, I would be willing to pay maybe 10 or 11 euros for one slice of pizza, for a pizza that good, but 16, you guys are really pushing it. And this was way back in 2009 or 2011. So you guys were already like over pushing it back then. You need to get over yourselves. And we went to, I think technically I have been in Österreich or Austria uh, by like a few meters or a few feet, because we went to the top of this mountain, and it was at this big facility, this big like tourist place at the top of the mountain that's like kind of built around it in like a circle, hugging it, and like they had shops and like Rittersport up there and everything, and it was right on the border. So like parts of the building are like, I guess, in Austria, parts of it are in Germany. So I don't recall like, I can't, if you showed me pictures of the inside of the building, I could not tell you specifically, like, I went in that area. So if you wanted to draw the lines, like, on the floor of the building, like, put the floor plan over the border and, like, try to retrace my steps, no, I can't tell you exactly if I crossed into Austria. But we're going to say that I did for the sake of it. I did definitively go into France and Switzerland, though, but we went all over Germany, and we went close to Denmark or Denmark. There was, I think Timo, the third exchange student who lived with us, Timo, his dad took us up to like this one place, and there was this bridge that had been raised so a boat could go by. And he said if we crossed over the bridge, we would be in Denmark, but we never actually crossed over the bridge. And then the one, oh no, not the only other place, but the other place we went in 2010, me and my mom, to Niagara Falls up in Ontario, Canada. And then from there, we went over and visited Cape Cod again. And in 2019, from which I have a lot of pictures of that trip, me and my parents went on a cruise throughout the Bahamas and then down to Puerto Rico, which is kind of boring, and then over to Saint Martin. which is where that famous airport is, where the runway comes like right up to the beach, and then obviously all the way back up to the regular U.S. And twice we have gone down to Cape Canaveral, where the space launches happen, where the Kennedy Space Center is. However, both times the launches that were supposed to happen while we were there got postponed due to inclement weather, is the proper term. So got screwed out of being able to actually in person see rockets go up the two times that I was able to go there. Then apart from those, like I said, myself on my own, along with Josh, usually went to Baltimore each year. Also went to San Francisco on my own. Hopped down to Anchorage a few times. Anchorage is actually really nice to visit. And me and Josh were going to go to San Francisco in like April of 2020, but then 2020 happened. And I think at one point I was going to go to Dallas for a convention, but the people I was going to be splitting the hotel with ended up backing out, so I ended up canceling that one. Okay, so that's the long diatribe about Maxojir's travel history, which left off from me seeing these old pictures. What was I originally? Oh, yeah, I was originally in here to try to find the stuff from Otis Air Force Base. It's in a different folder, but and there's Timo. Uh, Timo was the third exchange student to live with us. He was from northern Germany, from a place called Ulsnitz, which is close to. Uh, it's north of Kiel. Kiel is a port town. This was my grandma, at least she looks as she looked like one of the last times I saw her. She was probably my favorite person in the world, which is usually taken as kind of insulting to by one's parents, but uh, my mom understands at least. Grandma was like the best. She unfortunately died in 2013 in either June or July. I think it should be in my mother's photography folder then. I can show you some of the stuff from Otis. Oh, here's just some other general stuff from back when I was a child. That nice, happy 90s, early 2000s vibe coming through. And look, long before the interest ever developed, prophetically, I think, I don't know if it was my parents or one of my uncles, but somebody got me a little toy mining haul truck to play with. You know, if this were a story, this would be called foreshadowing. This is a special doggy, which is the name of the first stuffed animal that Maxojir / Michael got, and still has actually, almost 30 years later. Oh, that's Yo-Yo. That was I showed you my grandma, but this was my grandma's dog, Yo-Yo, who absolutely loved me. Yo-Yo, unfortunately, uh, ended up dying after only 3 years. She was not around for too long. All right, then that's some of my mom's photography from back when she was a child, or just pictures of her and her brothers. Where's the Otis stuff? All right, here we go. Sorry, it's not any larger, but this was me as a very very young child. I was probably like two, maybe. This was Otis Air Force Base on one of the family days. This was one of the hangars where the F-15s are. But this was an open family day. That's my dad. Uh, almost 30 years ago. He was wait, hold on. Okay. He was younger than I am now in this picture. I'm now 31. He would be 30 in this picture. And my mom would be 31 or 32, I think. But that was my mom. That was my dad, and that was my sort of adoptive Filipino aunt, Lizzie. She was one of their Air Force friends, and they would leave me with her a lot frequently when they needed someone to watch me. But yeah, I actually that is a hard mental shock I just had. My not my mom yet, because I'm not 32 yet, but my dad at least is younger in this picture than I am right now. I don't know, that's a weird mental shock to see one at least one of your parents younger than you are at the present moment in a picture that was taken at a time while you yourself were alive. And there's my grandma. She was there too on this. So this would have been 94 or 95, 1994 or 1995. Also known as a much, much, much better era. All right. Okay. I didn't see any other of my stuff there. Let's see. I have multiple pages here of things I could say or talk about: photography, planes, travel. Ooh, phobia. Yes, I used to be afraid of bees. Actually, what am I doing this for? I have my own. I can just bring up my own photos. Actually, first I should do something professional and actually look at my chat. There's nothing there to look at. Okay, unless it's not just not updating. But I have my own shots of bees. Some of my own close-ups I managed to get. Yeah, so I used to actually like have a phobia of bees. Like I literally uncontrollably would actually like bolt and run if like a bee was near me. Eventually I actually overcame that and I have zero like fear or repercussions about bees. Bees specifically at least, like because I now have actually, done something that you can do. I have pet, like literally like stroked a honeybee and a bumblebee while they were on a flower. And, that was like the final shattering of realizing that not, they really don't care. Wasps, I will still intentionally stay away from wasps, unless they are nesting like around my parents' house, in which case I will engage them in melee combat because I now no longer have the phobia of wasps anymore either, since, for one, I, did engage them and have slain many with a sandal and a shoe, and, constantly, even in the midst of the fighting, they did not really turn into their hyper aggression mode. Uh, I eventually got stunned by one just a few months ago, and it was a wasp, not a bee. And it really did not live up to the hype. I mean, it was like initially kind of painful and a bit throbby, like for a minute, but then it was kind of just gone. Like it really did not live up to the hype. And so that was the moment. That was the moment where Maxojir overcame. his wasp phobia like for the final time because I had that moment of this is pathetic. This is the best you got. Like, I mean, yeah, it would be bad if like all 1,000 of you swarmed me at once, but like, really, this was it. This is all you have. So yes, I now fearlessly or almost fearlessly engage wasps in hand-to-hand combat. By which I mean I engage them with a sandal, usually with one of my flip flops, or I will engage them with an actual shoe should the case arise. All right, let's see. Stuff Maxojir actually likes or watches. Uh, Despite supposedly being a Russophobe, one of my favorite cartoons is actually uh, Belka i Strelka Taini Kosmosa is the closest I'll get to correctly pronouncing that. And yes, I just straight up watch it in Russian. I do. Let's see. This is videos. This isn't the art section. 101 Dalmatian Street for like the one UK thing that I watch. What's in saved pictures? In regards to Sonic, I don't watch the episodes frequently anymore, but I do like slash liked Sonic X. That was a show me and Josh watched as a as like teenagers slash kids. It had a really a lot of memeable moments came out of that show. That's the best I can phrase it as. There were quite a lot of meme worthy moments in that show. Oh, hey, look! It's even the Dragon Ball Z Scouter. Let's see. Oh, yeah, ones I've mentioned frequently. Gundam Seed was uh was one of my favorites. One of the various Gundam slash Mobile Suit animes, and Gundam Double O, from which one of the characters I identify, one of the characters I like identify with the most, Soran, is from who's actually like one of the few times I've seen a character who like personality wise is and moral absolutism wise also is like uh, pretty close, uh, pretty close to me. So had a really easy to identify with him on that. And hold on, yeah, Gundam Seed though is where the is where this comes from. The whole like uh, maximum power level thing. I know I used that GIF and that meme numerous times. Ultimate attack. Let's see. I also do like The Last Airbender. Not really a fan of Legend of Korra though. That kind of sucked, and especially not the new one, the third series they're making in the Last Airbender universe, Avatar: The Last Airbender. The new one that's like literally like I don't know, it's like cyberpunk or something. It's really really cringe. Can't stand it. Did I not have two of these open? Yeah, I also like this show from the late 2010s called Lion Guard. It was one of the few decent cartoons that was made as, you know, the great downturn that we've entered in terms of the quality of shows and films that are produced nowadays. It was one of the last ones that was actually made and was actually cool. Along with 101 Dalmatian Street, those were like the last two that were made as the great downturn of quality was happening. Those were the last two that were like decent, and then everything else has been just, you know, absolute complete trash. Okay, hold on. Let me clear out most of this. Uh, Nothing that I have to comment on. So let me drink some more water. Oh, and as I said at the in the beginning, I did make a few memes of my own. I made adjustments of the astronaut meme and replaced the Ohio flag with the Alaska flag, obviously. So I made this one, and of course this one, because I have my own entire my own entire like fictional Anthro-world universe thing that I created. I got this map. I got like the world history and everything. I have all the various stories so far that I have written, probably like 300,000 words worth, that take place at different times in different portions of this world. Those that those that I have actually posted thus far can be found on AO3 or Archive of Our Own under the name Maxojir because I literally use the same name on every website unless it's been taken. Not all of these are stories in or from that world. Some of them are from elsewhere, but most of them are. Also, I forgot to mention while we were on the subject, the place where you're most likely to just see my photography is probably on Tumblr, which is also under the name of Maxojir. I've started posting pretty exclusively my photography up there. I think that's the one place where I exclusively or am posting like basically just my photography. You can find a lot of it on DeviantArt, which is also under the name of Maxojir. You can find a lot of what I have put up so far. I'm now like going through and trying to uh, go through and backtrack, you know, which actual piece these each of these were, so that I can then also post those on the other places. That way, I can have everything matched up before I start across all sites posting additional new stuff. or not technically new, just stuff I haven't already uploaded in the past. But yeah, here in particularly the featured in the featured portion of my DA gallery, you can find a lot of the ones that I've already uploaded publicly. And like I said, or like I have said before, yes, you can use this stuff. You can use my videos. You can use my photography images. You can use any of like the any of the lore world building from my cringe furry world stuff. Anything I do or produce, yes, you can use it somehow if you want. Uh, it's people are going to do that anyways. Like people have probably already used some of these somewhere. I'm not in some delusional like corporate minded world where I think I actually have like ownership over them. Uh, if you if you want, like, if you use something in a big way, if you want to pay me for it, that's fine. Obviously, it's not like I'm going to stop you from doing that. But I'm not like I don't even have watermarks on or a copyright like signatures or anything on any of this or on like even any of my videos or whatever. So or any of the graphs that I make on that are all in that big folder that I share in the description of every video. You can use any of those too. I don't, I do not quote unquote believe in paywalls. Paywalls are cringe and like the ultimate sign of hyper corporatism, which I'm not going to participate in. Yeah, you can find a lot of my photography that I have already posted up here in my DA gallery is the most where you're going to find the most conglomerate of it until I have Tumblr and like the other places caught up with all of these. Okay. Did the whole TV shows and everything. There is also the now vastly shrunken video games library to mention. So in the past, yes, like a normal modern person, a aging millennial who was not yet aging back then, I did throughout childhood and teenage times, and eventually then through a decent bit of the 2010s as well, play a fair number of video games. So uh, I did play the Pokemon games on the Nintendo DS up through Gen 4. After Gen 4, I was kind of done. I personally felt and feel like everything after that was and has remained cringe. Uh, the first four were good, but four was already kind of getting a bit wobbly. Pokemon Emerald, which was one of the Gen 3 games, was like my absolute favorite, and I still have that. I still have my Nintendo DS. I still even have my Game Boy Color, like my original. Okay, why are you showing an orange one when I type in green Game Boy Color? There we go. So I still have my original Game Boy Color, and it still works. Like I played Tomb Raider on it last year to test it out. I finally almost beat that Game Boy Tomb Raider game, but eventually I got lazy and didn't do so. And eventually, at some point, the plan, at least at the moment, is to hand this off to Josh's nephew when he's old enough to like play and interact with stuff and not just hopefully like smash it against a hard surface. Originally, before Josh had a nephew, originally I was gonna wait till its value like went up over 1 grand for like nostalgia baiters and eventually hustle it on like Amazon or something. I might do that with the Nintendo DS eventually, but I do still have the Game Boy Color. I still have several of the games for it. I have Tomb Raider, I have Mario, I have Pokemon Yellow, the original Pokemon Yellow where you get Pikachu. What are what are some of the other ones? Uh, Turok. I think I have Turok on Game Boy Color. But anyways, outside of those, oh yeah, the the one like super memeable game that me and Josh played so much. Battle Assault 3 featuring Gundam Seed. So Battle Assault 3 featuring Gundam Seed was something, as Josh will agree with. It was something. So the game itself is a meme. The gameplay was a meme, and I don't mean that in the mocking way. I mean it was actually endless hours of fun, but it was also a meme. So it was hilarious. Like you instantly, uh, we start a match against each other. Just instantly, you hear the dialogue come out. Input the code because we both smashed the button to input the code, and you have to input a sequence of buttons really fast, and it'll give you like a power up. And then you hit another button that is supposed to be secret, and the dialogue comes out. Ability activated, and you just instantly start like overfiring, or you enter the secret combination and you get ultimate attack. Do you really want to die that badly? And you have that whole you remember the Freedom Gundam like mega power level burst thing I showed a few minutes back, and you would do something like that. And so yeah, this was endless amounts of fun back in the day. Let's see what else. Oh yeah, Elder Scrolls Oblivion. I am a very anti Skyrim person. I am Oblivion all the way. Why can't I get a bigger image of this? There we go. I'll have to make do with that. Elder Scrolls Oblivion was really, really, really where it was at. Especially just the dialogue in that game was like that the dialogue in that game will Uh, in the video game realm, it will live forever. You know, I'm just warming up. You pathetic worm! Ha ha! You move like a pregnant cow. And like sneaking up behind people and like pushing someone, like knocking someone like off a cliff, and they go like tumbling down a cliff. And your sneak skill is 100. So the person who was standing next to them, uh, after seeing that person go like launching off a cliff, because you like I don't know did some like massive explosive ability, or you smashed them with a great sword, and the person there's like, must have been the wind. Let's see. Yes, me and Josh also were cringily into Call of Duty. We spent a lot of nights, especially during the high school years, into like the hours of 4 a.m. in the morning, doing the Call of Duty online stuff. Trying to get all the special camos for our guns by getting like a specific number of kills or a specific number of headshots. We weren't like boosters or any of the other like mega cringe stuff. We also were not so we weren't also so terminally in the game. This was before terminally online existed. We weren't so terminally in the game that we were capable of, 360 no scopes or anything like that. We were more like generic, regular people playing the game. Let's see, what else do we have? I mentioned Dark Souls. I do like the general the Dark Souls collection, and Elden Ring is pretty cool. I don't have it. I don't play it because I don't have it, obviously. But I mean, it looks pretty decent. Here is where I will get destroyed by everyone else. I actually like Dark Souls 2, despite everyone else's hatred for it, and I actually like assert that it is the best in terms of feel wise for me. In terms of more recent stuff, I do like Subnautica. I played Subnautica back in December for a while and some bit in January. I do actually like Subnautica. Not the second one. I refuse to touch the second one because the second one, the sequel, sort of forces you into the story where you, the main character, literally like are railroaded into falling in love with an alien. So don't like the second one. I like the first one because the first one is primarily just resources and survival and exploration and doing stuff. The only thing I actively still play right now at this like actual moment is Minecraft, because they undid some of the stuff that just ruined the feeling of it. And in terms of being forced or railroaded into stuff, they've kind of corrected things to a certain extent, so it's playable to me again. And I'm playing on a in a server that's run by some people who are in a Discord server, a server run by people in a server that I'm a part of on Discord. So I actually started playing Minecraft again, and lo and behold, you would never guess, but I'm constructing things like a realistic two scale offshore drilling platform and things of the sort. Oh, let's see, one other game that was really obscure, and I would love if they brought this back onto like that infinite access thing on like the PlayStation Network, where if you just pay like the $6 or $7 for a month, you can access literally like any game that's ever existed. Because they do have a lot of PS2 games on there. They did not have Sub Rebellion though. I loved Sub Rebellion. So this was a really unique, really obscure game where you're actually controlling a submarine, and the world has like flooded over, and so all combat has become naval to some degree. And so I just absolutely loved this game. I would love to be able to play it again. If I find out there's an emulator of it, I will probably end up trying it out. If I find out there actually is one. Let's see. Oh yeah, wait. Back on shows, I forgot. I forgot the best of them. I forgot Ed, and Eddie. Ed, and Eddie was definitely had to definitely be among like my top favorites. It is for those who are unfamiliar with it. It's just it's a nonsense. It's just a nonsense cartoon. Uh, a mix of slapstick, completely like random things that are said by Ed over here, the brainless one. But like the guys who made the show, who did the writing, like I don't know how to explain it. They knew how to write, and not just him, but Rolf also. They knew how to write quote unquote random stuff, whether it be dialogue or whether it be actions happening, They just knew how to write it in such a way that it was random, yet somehow not actually disconnected or out of place, where it actually like worked with everything else. So, like I grew up watching this and other stuff on Cartoon Network back in the day, back when that was a thing that existed, before it changed in the later 2000s. Because a lot of stuff changed, to say the least. You bring this down. X that off. What is this? $80. I mean, that's actually not that much more than it cost back in the old days. It still back then cost about like 50, I think. Uh, Josh, I can't access this because the heart is in the way. So, can you delete whatever that face thing is? Let's see. What else did we have up here? Oh, yeah, everybody's favorite subject. So politics. I ascribe to nothing and I vote for nothing. Uh, because I'm one of those few people that says, all politicians and representative government participants are inherently corrupt and evil, except I actually believe that when I say it. And I don't say that with this somehow secret undertone meaning of except the ones that I like and vote for, they're cool. When I say they're all inherently corrupt and evil, like by default, by nature of being in the government, uh, I actually mean that. From the secular angle, you have to be at least a sociopath to willingly try to ascend to power in any form, even if it's just on like a Senate or parliamentary level, not talking about like being leader of a nation. You have to at least be a sociopath. If not, as many of them likely are, a actual clinical psychopath. Which psychopath does not mean insane, as common culture has come to define it as meaning. It means like clinical psychopathy means having an absolute uh, non-existent perception of morality at all. Like there is no actual feeling within you that anything is right or wrong. There are just things you want to do uh, because you want to do them, and that's it. And also, where I split from a lot of supposed fellow believers or other Christians in the U.S. who are usually conservative. Uh, it, if you actually read the Bible, you're kind of not even subtly told to not get involved in worldly politics. It's not even subtle. You're actually told that pretty straightforward and pretty bluntly. And not Do not put your trust or faith in worldly rulers or worldly princes. Whereas people who would claim to be fellow believers and have incorporated a lot of American culture or cultural isms into into what they perceive as actual Christianity, or and like actually incorporate you know American culture type stuff as like being part of what comes with that, but it's not. It never was. That's just idolatry. Like quite literally, you're holding those things like on the same level. That's pretty explicitly commanded against, and not just in the Old Testament either. And then and like both quote unquote sides in the U.S. Like one pushes stuff that's really whacked off, and the side that claims to be like claims to be Christian also at the same time like constantly spits on the poor and blames them for their poverty, which is not what Christ did, and like the opposite of what he told you to do. And the fact that many of those who would hear me or anyone saying that are immediately going to have a knee jerk psychological defense mechanism triggered about how actually it secretly is what Jesus meant, or it's correct when they do it though. Is pretty telling, and also like my outlook on things of what you know would be the best things to do and what would work uh, are literally not actually pushed or addressed by either, quote unquote, side of at least US politics. Like, if for in the energy aspect, you guys have already heard me talk about, one, one side, like wants, like renewable energy because the other side doesn't want it. The other side wants, energy because the other side does want it. That side then wants, uh, oil and gas powered power plants because the other side doesn't want it, and thus because that side does want it, the other side doesn't want it. Whereas the actual answers to things, as I've explained before, is deeper than 1 mile willingness to drill geothermal, along with nuclear, because burner reactors are a thing. We can get rid of the waste in a special reactor type. We're just consistently not willing to pay for it. However, not paying for stuff, or putting stuff off because not willing to pay for it really doesn't end well eventually. But that's just like one example where like I'm literally not in like some Venn diagram where I'm in the middle of the two, but like I'm actually literally outside of the diagram, because a lot of people's issue, something that you will commonly see, and I'm not just saying they claim this, but this is actually a common thing for most people. A lot of people, have a mixed like view of outlooks and beliefs that are like split between the two sides, uh, which is kind of by design, actually. And but in my case, like I am completely ostracized. Like my stuff is literally outside of both bubbles. It's not even in the overlap between the two. It's north. I prefer to refer to it as north, where the two sides in the U.S. specifically are left and right. Since I was in Alaska and would prefer to be in Alaska, I refer to my stuff as north. I'm completely like outside of the diagram. There's no room inside it. There's no room inside it for me, and for a lessening number of people, because the diagram is actually being constricted, and both sides internally are no true Scotsman fallacying their own members gradually more and more. So the two circles are constantly also like shrinking and constricting on themselves. And that's not just a US thing. That is happening in a lot of other places. It's just that in the US, there's definitively only two sides, whereas other countries at least kind of have an illusion of like multiple parties or multiple angles to stuff. Even though in Canada, it's really just that there's the left, there's the right, and then there's Quebec, basically. The Quebecois, or whatever they call themselves, is the third side, which fluctuates between basically just being either the left or the right, but the French Canadian version. Let's see. What else do we have on this long list of stuff, of personal details? Oh, yeah. So, my actual, excuse me, zoom in, please. So, my actual job, back when I had a job, was unarmed uh, security desk. So, I worked for the university and I would sit at this desk in whatever building I was working that particular night, and it was awesome because I wasn't making any like real YouTube money or anything like back then. Not that I'm really making any now, but uh, I got to write, I got to edit videos and everything while at work, quote unquote, because you could bring in your laptop, you could bring a book, you could do whatever. The job was literally to sit there and if something happened, you would hit the button on the desk phone that would summon the cops. Because basically, uh, there's a mentality not just among university students, but just among the populace in general. Uh, it has different levels in different areas, but people tend to not want to potentially cause something, not want to uh, escalate or create a scene, not want to rock the boat. So, in order to make sure that the university cops were like summoned if something was potentially happening or about to happen, they had us sit at desks in many of the buildings, and we just if the phone had like the red button, you hit the red button, or if it didn't, you just had to punch in a four-digit number real quick. Not 911 because that would direct you to the 911 call center. But there was what was I think oh one of the years it was four 4772 or something in the building that I was in for most of that year. You would just punch that in if the phone didn't have the red button, and you didn't have to say anything. You just like punch it in, or you just hit the red button, and it would show up on like their map screen thing that they were being summoned, and they would show up and deal with whatever the situation was. So yeah, I was only working about 20 hours a week, and eventually I was getting close to $900 a month for that. It was pretty nice. I mean, the only like actual downside that came from it was kind of being at risk of physical harm on average in my experience for the 7 years that I worked that job. It averaged for me about once every 2 years that I was like for a brief moment, for like 30 seconds to a minute, I was actually in a situation where I was close to being at risk of actually being harmed myself. So that much for that risk, that infrequently. Yeah, I really loved that setup. But then 2020 happened and everything shut down, universities included. I mean, they were doing online classes and everything, obviously, but uh, all the in person stuff shut down. So that was my job back when I had one, and unfortunately, it had this caveat attached to it of you had to be actively attending or taking classes at the university to be able to have that job working for the university because it was primarily for students. So once the thing like came down, once 2020 happened, I effectively kind of got deadlocked out of that because if I wanted to restart and all of that to get back into doing stuff in the university, I'd have to have like a lot of cash on hand to begin with to like start up a semester or a year, and I'd have to go through all the stress of that again. And as much as I did like that job and would like to earn that amount of income again, the walls that are in front for that are just a bit much. All right. Let's see. What else did we have here? Oh, yeah. I think. Yeah. So I ended up like at the highest point. I ended up. I was averaging close to like 10 grand a year, and 1 year, because of a lot of stuff and a lot of fill-ins and several weeks where I actually did work like 40 hours a week. 1 year, I think it was 20. No, it wasn't 20. Was it 2017? No, it was 2018. 2018, I actually earned like 12 and a half. Whereas down here since then, because a lot of it has primarily depended on YouTube, it has fluctuated all over the place. The I think the highest amount I got was actually in 2021. I earned like four or four and a half. And that was because that was the big drought year out in California and the Southwest. And like everybody was watching those like monthly water level update videos that I did. Like each of them was getting like 200,000 views. So I was, at times I was getting like $600 a month. But now, now everything's down to like generic low end average. Although Patreon, thank you to all those of you who are on Patreon. Patreon is at 62 at the moment, 62 per month. It was up to 83 at one point. Three people left recently, last month, so it dropped back down to 62. But uh, I am, obviously, I'm shocked that it's like up that high to begin with. Let's see, you have all that stuff, all that stuff. What about stuff on the first page? All the places I went to, cats, friends, nostalgia, Otis Air Force Base, German chocolate, Ciao Dorian and Timo. Oh, right, random stuff. Random stuff. I can, from a human's definition, I can essentially see in the dark. Basically, uh, I don't mean I don't mean like fringy comic book stuff. I just mean like my vision in the dark is like apparently way better than whatever the human average is. I guess because I'm usually able to identify and pick things out and navigate like when other people who were there told me that like they could not discern like anything. So apparently I have what I refer to as dark vision. I can just see really well in the dark. That's due to rod cells are uh, the dim light receptor ones in your eyes. So, assumably, I just have a higher concentration of rod cells on my retina than like the average person. Let me double check out see here. Oh, you actually did try looking for battle assault. I would think on in terms of like the older games, like I said, they have been on PlayStation Network on PlayStation the PlayStation Online thing on their general like monthly all access subscription. Uh, that that they are doing what I predicted they would do a bit earlier than I thought. They are starting to like post all the old stuff up there for just infinite access. Uh, Oblivion's on there, Skyrim's on there, all the Ratchet and Clank games are on there. The PS2 Baldur's Gate games are going to be on there. They're still separate on a pay for basis right now, but they're going to be added. So I'm hoping that they're eventually going to put some of the stuff that like I would like some of the more obscure stuff, like Battle Assault 3 featuring Gundam Seed, uh, Zeonic Front, Sub Rebellion, Army Men RTS. I think actually even the Darks they're more recent, they're more modern, but yeah, I think actually even some of the Dark Souls games were on there as part of the all infinite access for like the generic subscription thing. Now, I can't and won't pay for that. I also uh, don't wouldn't want to have to like try to separate my parents from their television that the PS4 is hooked up to that many times or that frequently. But it would be awesome if I would get to play Sub Rebellion again, at least a few times, just a little bit. Now, just to run through a few things from the past that we didn't get to touch on. So this was my freshman year of college dorm room. That was my side, and that was my roommate's side because freshman year you're stuck with a roommate, and my roommate was a gamer. He gamed from 7 a.m. in the morning until 5 a.m. at night every night. He slept for 2 hours. I never saw him go to class. Uh, he he got passing grades still apparently, but I never saw him actually go to class. He would leave the room every night at around 6 p.m. To go down to the university cafeteria to feed, and then he would return and resume gaming. This was just some of the stuff around there. These are not good pictures. These aren't like photography pictures. This is stuff I took on my phone in 2012, way back before I actually started doing photography. Yeah, this was some of the landscape around the university. There's the hill. There's the big bear. Oh man, look how young I was. Look how regular my face looked. He didn't have the current uh, unfortunate, face fat that I do at the moment. Oh, there he is. There's Alex. He's gaming. Gaming at 4 a.m. in the morning. He played LOL or League of Legends for 22 hours a day. Yeah, oh man, I would love to get back to having my face like be this like thinned out and not in its current state. But I'm working on it. I've lost over 30 pounds this year so far. Will, all right. So one of my freshman year friends was this guy Will. He frequently like clowned around in this morph suit, and everyone just eventually started calling him the Blue Man. That was one of my other freshman year friends who ended up kind of derailing his life into weed and drugs and stuff. But this was him as Batman. Here, all right, so let me. Okay, there was only the one other picture. Uh, yeah, the smoke plumes from the power plant. That actually helped me sleep so much at night back up home because you would. I lived about 500 feet away from it, sometimes 1,000 feet away from it, and it was close. It was close enough to where you could hear it. It wasn't loud, but you could hear it. Just the constant air rush of the coal smoke and the just the hum of the turbines going and or of the massive coal fire in the furnaces. It was a perfect constant ambience noise when everything else was dead silent. So that really, really actually made sleeping a lot easier. Whereas down here, since I've been down here, I don't sleep. I really can't sleep. I try to sleep, but I sleep for like maybe an hour at a time. Then I wake up, another hour at a time. Then I wake up. So like I'm mentally destroyed by that process over the last few years because either my dad's up till like early hours of the morning, uh, listening to other people doing gaming, or or everything is just really like disturbingly eerie quiet, or the people across the street are like parked in their driveway until like 5 or 6 in the morning, just like blasting like hyper ghetto music all night long with like full bass at max volume. Or sorry, also the other people also across the street will like pull up. Their daughter's boyfriend pulls up in his pickup truck in the middle of the night and is like full bass blasting some like redneck country version of heavy bass rap, except it's like I've heard some of it sometimes, and it's like country rap, which is really really unnatural and cringe. But both of them will like do that in the middle of the night, max volume, zero cares in the world. uh I remember this jacket. Unfortunately, I gave it away to someone, and I'm never going to see it again. But oh, I still have that hat. That's my seal and otter fur hat. That was actually handmade. That was like actually handmade by some. I forget which tribe she was from. But that was handmade by someone from the actual one of the actual native tribes back up home, and those last forever. iPods. Anyone remember iPods back when your phone and your music were like separate things? I remember those. I remember cocoa. I remember when $2,500 per ton was the highest that cocoa prices had ever been. I remember when 1720 per ounce was the highest that gold prices had ever been. December 2nd, 2012. Negative 36 degrees. Yep, that was pretty frequent. Love those temperatures. Uh, Eventually, and I loved being able to just stare at sites like this with the backlit sun making the coal smoke look pink. So, apart from photographing it, again, this is not photography. This was on my phone back in my freshman year of college. But I would also kind of just like sit there and stare at it for a while. We played a lot of pool. Loved playing a lot of pool. Don't really play any anymore though down here. There's the hill covered in snow. This is part of why I was, constantly thinner back up home because to get, my daily Subway footlong, which was my daily meal, I had to go up this hill. This is just the first half of it. There's another half behind it. Which was like a 40-degree hill to go like 500 feet up in elevation. So I would go up that hill actually twice a day because I would actually also go up there for some of my classes. So the existence of this hill is part of why I was much thinner back up home than I allowed myself to get after I became stuck down here. But I'm working on getting rid of gained weight. Like I said, I've lost about 30 pounds since the start of this year. Or actually, sorry, since late last year. There we go. Snowscape Wonderland. Buried bikes. I remember having those goggles. I miss those. I think this should be mostly it. All right, that was another Nick, not the Nick that I've told you guys about, who I still speak to frequently. That was a different Nick. And this, at least, was the very first version of it. This was the first year, or my second year at the university, but my first year having my own room. And this, I think there we go. There's wider shots. I also took better shots with the actual camera eventually, but so this was my room in the Stevens building, which, like I said, was my favorite. I don't even remember what the story behind this was, so don't ask. Oh yeah, someone actually made this like epic snow bear. Jesse, Jesse. Sorry, I had to sneeze for a second. How much more is there here? Uh, okay, looks like that's about it. So I'll just go through these and then I'll check on stuff. This kitty, this kitty's gone now. This kitty lived down the street from my parents, so I would always see her when I went out walking and picking up garbage. Because down here in South Carolina, everybody, as part of Southern culture, uh, always just throws and leaves their garbage like in their lawn or on the side of the road, in the sidewalk, in the woods. So I go around picking it up all over the place. It replenishes itself like within 2 days, but I'm still going to keep doing it because I'm not just going to use that as an excuse to not. But this kitty would always come up and greet me and roll around. Uh, she's gone now because she eventually she was, I think she was born around the same time as Jesse, so yeah, she was about the same age, but she's gone now. There's Jesse again, propping herself up onto the counter. And that's her salmon. That was her favorite salmon. She would always snuggle up with her salmon. Ah, here we go. Here's a full shot of the group, the D&D crew. This was not a D&D night, as you can see from the cards. This was a Magic the Gathering night. So that's Nick over there. He frequently he was off and on with long hair. He still, I think he shifts back and forth between long hair and short hair. Uh, that's his that's his still fiance. I don't think they actually got married yet. Kayla, uh, that was Garth. This over here was Dan. He's hiding behind Connor's head here. That was Connor. This was just a dude who was dropping in for a little bit. I think this was Casey. I can't tell, but the hair and the glasses look similar. That was Jordan, the redhead, the ginger, and that was Danny. And darn, I forget his name. I'm forgetting. No, the guy in the red shirt here was the funny guy. He was one of the comedians. So he like in one of the D&D campaigns, he played a dwarf paladin, and actually in one like encounter, there were a bunch of enemies at the bottom of this really narrow hill, and so he pointed out that it's exactly like a bowling alley, but with a heavier slope. So he lit himself on fire with holy fire and curled up into a ball and had the others like roll him down the hill into the like a bowling ball, a flaming bowling ball into the group of enemies. But yeah, that was the group, and that was a brownie pan in which I had just made brownies for everybody. But this was not a D&D night. Obviously, this was a Magic the Gathering night. And oh, I thought I still had my file thing open. Okay, never mind. I guess not. Thank you. I actually I stopped like solidly dead at one particular point. Like I stopped for a year at 9,800, I think. So I don't know if like that was a halt to incoming subscriptions or if it was just like matching the rate at people unsubscribing, or hopefully the rate at which, I'm hoping YouTube was doing this, but probably not. Matching the rate at which bot channels were getting deleted. But I initially said I was going to do this whole thing last year around August because it looked like I was about to hit 10K, and then all of a sudden it stopped flat at 98. So I was actually relieved. I was like, haha, I have an excuse to not do the stream. And then all of a sudden, we hit summer of this year and it actually started climbing up from 9,800 again, really slowly, and eventually did hit 10K. So that is where we came to now, and why, thus, now I'm actually doing this. Although this should be pretty close to the end of it, as I'm going to want to drop off and get some stuff done, edit one or two videos, continue with posting, with like actually trying to reliably post my photography, see if I can actually uh, draw anybody in from that at some point. So, like I said, to go through the different accounts and everything. So, all of that stuff. And no, we go here, images. So that's no, up here. So fictional, that whole fictional anthro animal world thing that I created. All the stories and stuff that take place there are here on Archive of Our Own under Maxojir. Obviously, not all of these stories that I have on here are stories that take place there, but a majority of them are. You can also find all of the actual fringe data and world building stuff on that over here in this folder. which has subfolders and stuff even that has like different types of maps. The War for the World, which is their equivalent of World War II, progression or moving lines map. The growing, expanding thing of history, different flags and stuff I made. So that will be available. I'll leave that in the chat as a link soon. So that's where you can find all of that. For just my photography, like I said, my Tumblr is the place where, since I had like nothing else there, that seems to be the one where I'm going to like explicitly just put my photography for the most part. And it is, to no surprise, under the name Maxojir. So that's where I will be posting it regularly now. Most of these posts upcoming are just going to be me trying to catch up to and match my DA gallery. So, apart from a mix of other stuff in my DA gallery, in the featured section, if you go down, you will eventually start seeing here. Uh, it is primarily filled with all of the pieces of my photography that I have in the past already uploaded. So there are like quite a number here that you can see or that you can look through. That's on my DA page, which is, to the surprise of no one, also under the name Maxojir. Not sure what other name you would expect me to be putting there. Do have a Twitter over here where I do also post photography and post stuff to retweet stuff to donate to or help cats and other charities and stuff. This one is, you can probably still get me by searching Maxojir here. Hold on, let me see. Will it bring me up? Okay, it will bring me up. Uh, if that doesn't work, then specifically the app is AK underscore Maxojir because someone already did make an account called Maxojir. So this was one of the few times that I actually had to make something different. So I just put AK for Alaska underscore and then Maxojir. And yeah, also, and don't forget, Bindi, my cat, also has a YouTube channel of her own over here where I've actually tried to consistently now like upload regular videos of her. And I think that is mostly it. There's probably other stuff about myself that I'm forgetting, but you know, it's gone on long enough at this point. Plus, I want to throw some cookies in the oven and everything. So that's going to be where it all cuts off. Actually, hold on. So yeah, that's going to be where we're probably going to cut it off for tonight, unless anything comes up in like the next 30 seconds. Uh, shut everything down. Shut everything down. All right, looks like, yeah, it's been enough of a delay, so I think that's probably going to be it. And I will see everybody around, probably in a normal stream on Thursday or Friday night, depending on what happens between now and then. The more stuff that happens, the sooner I do another like regular stream. Uh, and other and videos and stuff are coming up. There's the one about California water levels, California reservoir water levels dropping at twice the speed they did last year. Then there's the regular monthly oil production levels update that will be coming in a few days, assuming the EIA releases the data on time. And then I can't recall the other stuff off the top of my head. Yeah, so thank you everybody who showed up for this, and I will see you all around next time.